Hello and welcome to the lecture series on automobile engineering. The course code is RME 702. I am your mentor Dr. Vinod Kumar Yadav from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, GL Bajaj Institute of Technology and Management, Greater Noida. We'll be covering the introduction part of an automobile engineering. So before starting the subject, we must know the course outcomes. So after completing this particular course on automobile engineering, you will be able to understand the effect of vehicle dynamics. You will be able to understand the principle of working of basic components of transmission system, braking system, suspension system, and you'll be able to solve the issues that are in general related to automotive maintenance and repair. So today we'll discuss the objectives of this particular lecture, outcomes expected from your end after completing the lecture, then we'll define the term automobile, what is its actual meaning, and then we'll discuss about the components of automobile, then nomenclature, engine classification, and we'll conclude at the end. So the specific objective of the lecture is to understand the meaning of the term automobile, what actually the automobile means, and then we'll be able to we'll discuss about the nomenclature of an automobile engine, how the engine is being basically classified. Then we'll see the list of components of an automobile. Okay, at the end of this lecture you will be able to know about the principle and operation of an automobile. You will also be able to know the basic components of an automobile engine. So to start with the definition, we must know what is the meaning of automobile. Automobile is basically a term which consists of two subwords like auto and mobile. Okay, so this auto means self and mobile means propelled. So this is mobile means vehicle. So automobile is basically a self-propelled vehicle. Okay, so automobile is a vehicle driven by an internal combustion engine. As we can see in this animation, an engine is able to drive the entire car or bus or any system. So the basic components of an automobile can be classified into 5 ways. The first and major part is engine, that is the power plant of an automobile, followed by chassis and frame. Basically that chassis and frame supports the entire body. The braking system, suspension system, transmission system, steering system, and other systems are being supported by chassis. Okay, so transmission system is the system that transmits the power from the engine to the wheels, and this include clutch, gearbox, propeller shaft, differential, rear axle, and our wheels. Okay, so the body is basically the outer envelope which covers the entire system fitted over the chassis and frame. So accessories include components like air conditioners, heaters, fans, lights, wipers, stereos, etc. To start with, we'll first see the basic nomenclature of an engine. Okay, that is being taught in ICE engine course. So from here we can see that this automobile engine consists of the basic cylinder, is the body, that is known as cylinder, and these are the valves: inlet valve, exhaust valve. In case of SI engines, spark ignition engines, we have a spark plug. In case of a CI engine, that is compression ignition engine, we have fuel injectors here to ignite the charge. Okay, so to start with the nomenclature, we must know the meaning of top dead center and bottom dead center. So this is the piston, connecting rod, crankshaft, this is crank. Okay, this is the shaft, and these are the this is a pin, crank pin, this is gudgeon pin, cylinder wall. The upper portion is known as clearance volume. So top dead center is the position up to which the piston can move to this location. Okay, so during the position of TDC, that is top dead center, this connecting rod and crank comes in line with each other. So here we can see in this image that this crankshaft comes to this 0 degree position. Okay, so this crankshaft comes to this 0 degree position. In that case, the crankshaft and the connecting rod, they are in in line with each other. Okay, so this will correlate the top dead center position. Beyond this point, the piston cannot move further, and above this top dead center position, the corresponding volume up to this clearance level is known as clearance volume. Okay, now when the piston comes to the outermost position, that is bottom dead center, then again this crankshaft and connecting rod comes in line with each other, and the position of the crank will be 180 degree from the top dead center. So this position at 180 degree from this location is known as bottom dead center. In that case, the piston is at the BDC, that is bottom dead center. So the volume swept by the piston while moving from TDC to BDC is known as swept volume. Okay, so this is the entire nomenclature of an engine. So then we'll start with the classification of an engine, how the engines are being classified. So the first classification on which engines are based are on the basis of cycle of operation. So we have heard about the two-stroke cycle engine and the four-stroke cycle engine. So this is an example of two-stroke cycle engine, and this is an example of four-stroke cycle engine. The references are cited here from where these have been adopted. Okay, in two-stroke cycle engine, the entire operation completes within one complete rotation of the crankshaft. Okay, that is 360 degree rotation of the crankshaft. The entire process, that is the expansion and exhaust, completes. Okay, so in four-stroke cycle engine, entire process is being completed into 2 revolutions of the crankshaft or 4 piston strokes. Here it was only 2 stroke, that is downward stroke, upward stroke, and here there are 4 strokes: suction, compression, expansion and exhaust. Okay, so this is on the basis of cycle of operation we can classify the engines. Okay, we'll discuss in detail in second lecture about how to differentiate in between 2-stroke and 4-stroke cycle engines, and what are the advantages and limitations of 2-stroke engine and 4-stroke engines. Okay, we'll discuss in next lecture about this particular concept in detail. Now to classify again the engines, we can classify on the basis of cycle of combustion. So we must have heard about the Otto cycle engine, on which our basically SI engines are based. Spark ignition engines are based on Otto cycle. Okay, then diesel engines are based on diesel cycle. Okay, and third one is dual cycle. So in case of Otto cycle, so the heat addition takes place at constant volume, and also the heat rejection takes place at constant volume. Okay, and other two processes are like reversible adiabatic process or isentropic process. Like compression and expansion are presumed as to be happening as isentropic in nature. Okay, so in case of diesel cycle, in spite of adding the heat at constant volume, we used to add the heat at constant pressure. So I have drawn this diesel cycle here on PV diagram. This is a PV diagram, pressure volume diagram. Okay, this 0 to 1 corresponds to the suction process, 1 to 2 corresponds to reversible adiabatic compression process, 2 to 3 corresponds to constant pressure heat addition. Here in this case, the heat is being added at constant pressure. 3 to 4 is basically the isentropic expansion process, and 4 to 1 is the constant volume heat rejection. So in case of Otto cycle, we have seen that the heat addition process is a constant volume process. In diesel cycle, it is constant pressure heat addition process, but the heat rejection process remains same. So there are certain advantages and limitations of these cycles. Okay, so if we want to go for high speed automobiles, then we must go for SI engines, and if we want to go for more torque, more power, we must refer to diesel engines, but they are slower in speed. Okay, so on the basis of our requirement, we may be referring to any of the engine, SI engine or CI engine. Then dual cycle is basically a cycle which is having the properties of Otto as well as diesel cycle. In this case, the partial heat addition is done at constant volume, and partially the heat is being added at constant pressure. So this consists of both the properties of constant volume and constant pressure. So this heat addition process is neither constant pressure heat addition nor constant volume heat addition. It's a mixture of partially constant volume heat addition and then remaining constant pressure heat addition. So that is why it is called as dual cycle engine. Some trucks are based on dual cycle engine. So now third classification is according to the arrangement of the cylinder, we can classify the engines like inline. If the cylinders are fitted in line, these are multi-cylinder engines and they are fitted in a line. Okay, so from here we can see that this is a sort of inline engine in which all the cylinders are in line to each other, okay, along a central line. So U cylinder may be used. These were the older versions in which the shape is made as U. There is a common cylinder and two pistons, two connecting rods, two crankshafts, and 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 a common cylinder. Okay, so this is a U cylinder engine. So due to excessive number of losses, this was not being preferred or adopted so far. V-type engine is an advantageous engine in terms of uniform torque and power output. So these are used in practice. Okay, so we can see that the shape is like a V, letter V. Okay, so this is also used. Delta shape engines, we can see the shape and the fitment of the cylinders and connecting rod and piston. It forms a delta shape. Okay, so these are delta shaped engines. Wankel rotary engines are based on rotation principle. These have a rotor and inside this part entire the expansion compression takes place. Okay, so due to wear and tear problem, these are not in wider practice. So these are X type engines. They are forming, their arrangement shows that they are forming a letter X. So these are known as X type engines. These are the radial engines used in aircrafts. So these are radial in nature. There is a common crankshaft. The output of all the cylinders are being fed to the common crankshaft. Then we go for another classification that is known as H type engines. It is forming a letter H. Entire cylinder system is different for all the cylinders. Okay, and there is a common crankshaft for two cylinders, and this is another crankshaft for two cylinders. So other version is opposed cylinder engine in which the cylinders are just 180-degree apart from each other. Okay, so there are two pistons and two cylinder arrangement is provided, but a unique crankshaft. The crankshaft is single. Okay, then we talk about the opposed piston engine. Opposed piston engine consists of two connecting rods, two pistons, and a common cylinder. Here this takes place. So this is basically preferable with two-stroke engines. So we'll see in detail about these working of these cylinders. So we have seen that single cylinder engine that is being used in motorcycles and scooters is a single cylinder. Okay, other classification was inline or straight engines that we have seen. These are inline with each other. Okay, then V engines we can see from here. This is a 6-cylinder V engine, very powerful engine, and the crankshaft is common. This is a flywheel, common crankshaft. Connecting rods are different and 6 pistons are there for 6 cylinders. Okay, so this is a powerful engine used in high speed vehicles. Okay, that is a good version, and it also provides uniform torque in the crankshaft. So according to the cylinder arrangement, what we have seen, opposed cylinder engines. So that version we can see from here in this animation. So this is an opposed cylinder engine. So we can see here that the connecting rods are different, but the crankshaft is common. Pistons are different. Okay, cylinders are opposed to each other. They are set at 180-degree apart from each other. Okay, so this one is the cylinder, this one is the cylinder, and here also we have a set of cylinder. Okay, so these are called as opposed cylinder engines. Okay, so basically they have a good property of balancing. They are well balanced and they have a single crankshaft, and these are used in small aircrafts. So opposed piston engine is basically, we can see here, uh, this is a single cylinder engine, only one cylinder, two pistons are separated. Okay, and these are suitable for two-stroke engines. There is no cylinder head, and these are used in large diesel installations. So this is an opposed piston version. Now this is the best example of radial engine that is being used in aircrafts. So these are equally spaced around crankshaft. Okay, the crankshaft, they are equally spaced, and these are used in air cooled aircraft engines that have 3, 5, 7 or 9 cylinders. So these figures have been chosen to get an uniform output in the crankshaft and to reduce the noise and vibration. Okay, pistons of all coupled to the same crankshaft. So we can see from this animation all the pistons are coupled via connecting rod on a same crankshaft. Okay, so this is a good version that is being utilized in aircrafts. So other versions that are very less in use include X type, like 4 banks of cylinders fitted to a single crankshaft. H type, 2 opposed cylinder type, uses 2 separate but interconnected crankshafts. As I have told you, these are made like letter H. U type, a variation of opposed piston engine. This is a version of opposed piston engine in which there is a common cylinder. Okay, so delta type, combination of 3 opposed piston engines with 3 crankshafts interlinked to one another. So this is not in much practice. So according to valve arrangement, we can classify the engines as L head engines. It is shaped like letter L. Okay, these are the valves fitted at the sideways of the cylinder. So these forms arrangement like letter L. So these are called as L head engines. T head engines, in which we can see that this forms a letter T. In this case, the inlet valve and exhaust valve are separated from each other. They are apart each other and they are on one side of the cylinder. This is on one side, this is on other side. Okay, so they are forming a letter T. The head is forming a letter like T, so it is called as T head arrangement. Then I heads, in which the inlet and exhaust valves are fitted at the top of the cylinder. So these forms shape like I. F head, in which it forms a letter F. Okay, so due to its arrangement, it is called as F head cylinder. V type, that we have seen that V engines. Okay, and I head. So in I head, the valve is fitted at the top. So engine may also be classified on the basis of the fuel. Like we can use oil, several oils can be used to propel the engine. Okay, vegetable oils can be used, mineral oils can be used. Nowadays the use of biodiesel is so common in ICE engines. Gas, we can use the LPG gas, we can use the CNG gas, and even people are working over different combinations of gases, okay, to run the engine. We can use petrol engines that we use in SI engines. Kerosene can be used to propel the engine. Alcohols, people are working over this particular fuel that is known as alcohol. Okay, alcohols are being utilized for propelling the engines, ethyl, methyl engine, etc. So these are the fuels which are capable of running the engine. So on the basis of method of mixture preparation, we can classify the engine as homogeneously charged engines and heterogeneously charged engines. So SI engines are basically the homogeneously charged engines. Because why it is so? Because we know that in case of SI engines that are being used or propelled by using a carbureted system, in that case the air fuel mixture is prepared at the outer periphery of the engine, okay, by using suitable means. So air fuel mixtures are homogeneously mixed before they are entered inside the combustion chamber. So they are homogeneously charged engines. But in case of CI engines, compression ignition engines, only air enters inside the combustion chamber and the fuel is injected at the time of expansion stroke, just before some degrees before TDC. Okay, so they are heterogeneous in nature. Okay, they are not homogeneous, they are not forming the homogeneous mixture. So the CI engines or diesel engines are heterogeneously charged engines. So on the basis of method of ignition, we can also classify as spark ignition and compression ignition. So petrol engines are basically the spark ignition engines and diesel engines are basically the compression ignition engines. Okay, in case of spark ignition engines, we used to supply some amount of heat energy just to ignite the mixture. As we know that the flash point of the fuel is different and the fire point and corresponding self ignition temperature of the fuel is different. So we have to attain the self ignition temperature of the fuel like petrol. Okay, so that lies in the range of 250 or 260 degrees Celsius. So to ignite that petrol mixture that is mixed with air, we must provide a ignition or heat energy, and that must be of minimum, or it must lie in the range of 30 to 50 millijoules. So this much energy must be supplied for combusting or igniting the mixture. So in case of SI engines, SI, that is spark ignition engines, we use a spark plug, we use battery ignition system or magneto ignition system or electronic ignition system and provide the minimum energy required to ignite the mixture. Okay, in case of CI engines, compression ignition engines, the compression ratio is kept 16:1 to 22:1, very high compression ratio. Due to this high compression and accession in pressure, the charge gets auto ignited by itself while the diesel fuel is being sprayed. Okay, so this is known as CI engine, compression ignition engine. So on this basis we can classify the engines. Okay, then we'll discuss about the combustion chamber design. So you might have studied in ICE engine course about DI and IDI engines. The DI are basically the direct injection engines. So these are using the open type combustion chamber in which we use a multi-hole nozzle and spray the fuel. Okay, in IDI, that is indirect injection system, we use a pre-combustion chamber and a main combustion chamber. The entire combustion chamber volume is divided into two parts, pre and main. Okay, so 20-30% charge is being ignited at the pre-combustion chamber through a opening or throttle. It moves to the main combustion chamber and propagates. Okay, so this may be basis of classification of combustion chamber, on the basis of which we can classify the engine, whether the engine is DI engine or IDI engine. Then on the basis of method of cooling also we can classify air cooling and air cooled and water cooled engines. So in case of bikes, we have seen that the bikes are basically air cooled, and water cooled engines are basically other, like they are used in cars, they are used in buses, where the capacity of the engine is more and the heat generated by the engine is also more. So in that case we must move to the water cooling system, as we can see that the effectiveness of the cooling system using water will be more, because the heat transfer coefficient of water is more as compared to the air. So in case of heavy engines, in case of powerful engines, we must move to the water cooling system. So at the end, I will conclude today's lecture. So we have seen that an automobile is a self-propelled vehicle which can move by itself. Okay, if we talk about the rickshaw that is being pulled by a human, it's not an automobile. Okay, it is not moving by itself, it is being propelled by a human effort. So we cannot say that it is an automobile. So an automobile is a self-propelled vehicle. Okay, we'll start the engine, it will propel by itself. So that is known as automobile. So the basic components of an automobile may be classified as engine, chassis, frame, transmission, body, and other accessories. Okay, so we have seen that the power developed by two-stroke engines are nearly twice compared to four-stroke engines. In fact, because we have seen that in case of two-stroke engines, in one revolution, one power stroke is there. But in case of four-stroke engines, in two revolution of the crankshaft, only one power stroke is there. So we can say that in case of two-stroke engines, there is one live stroke and one dead stroke out of two strokes. So it is more effective. But in case of four-stroke engines, there is one live stroke and three dead strokes. One live stroke means that stroke is producing power, rest three strokes are consuming power. So we can conclude that the power developed by two-stroke engines are nearly twice as compared to four-stroke engines. In fact, these two-stroke engines, especially SI engines or petrol engines, are not in common use due to the limitations like the pollution. They used to emit a lot of unburnt hydrocarbons and other pollutants that pollute the environment to a severe extent. So due to this, and this happens during the process of scavenging. So this we'll discuss after this lecture. In second lecture, we'll discuss about the advantages and limitations of two-stroke and four-stroke engines. Okay. So I have adopted these animations from online sources only for the students demonstration, and I have referred these to textbooks to prepare this particular site. Thank you so much. Okay.